Hello, hello, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are
Hello.
really thrilled to welcome you to this session. Hello, Céline. Hello, Simon.
Hi.
Let's wait a few more seconds while everyone is getting connected to the session. We'll have a short video to keep you waiting, so bear with us.
Doing for its visibility. SEO is the natural turbo that boosts your business, and these three letters shouldn't give you nightmares. With Semactic, increase your visibility, save time, and boost your skills effortlessly. To start, Semactic offers you a true roadmap for your SEO actions. You receive personalized recommendations. The tasks are clear and straightforward, and you don't need to be an SEO expert to succeed. And all your actions are visible at a glance through an ultra-intuitive Kanban view. With the collaborative mode, you can assign tasks to your colleagues and continuously track each project. You see your progress in real time. You are autonomous, but never alone. Our expert coaches are there to support you whenever you need them. Do you like KPIs and tracking your results? Then you'll love our dashboard. Identify your strengths and weaknesses by topic, compare your performance, and follow your customers' search trends in just a few clicks. With our super complete platform, managing your content strategy also becomes more intuitive thanks to our editorial calendar. You receive content recommendations based on opportunities and trends in your industry, and Semactic tells you exactly when to publish them. Want more? We've boosted the platform with AI. Smarter, Semactic helps you optimize your texts by rephrasing or continuing your writing from a simple excerpt with real-time SEO scoring, a real writing assistant that saves you invaluable time. We could also add that Semactic offers you a weekly technical audit and integrates with GA4, Matimo, or Jira, among others. But this video would be way too long. In summary, Semactic is the all-in-one SEO platform that optimizes your visibility. And we should probably have started with that. Ready to boost your SEO? Book a demo at semactic.com.
Okay, so welcome everyone again. Really, thank you very much for joining us today. We have a very interesting topic and very hot topic today for marketers. I think it's just the right moment. We already have a lot of people connected, so let's start this presentation. I'm Guillaume, and I will be the moderator today. So the real more important people are Céline and Simon today. They will be sharing quite interesting topic about SEO and generative search. So just let me introduce Céline and Simon. Céline Naveau is the co-founder and CEO at Semactic. And if you don't know Semactic yet, Semactic is an innovative SEO software company. And Simon Gourdin is digital marketing manager at Daikin. I'm sure you already know Daikin, which is a well-known and leader in heating, air conditioning, ventilation systems. So really thrilled to have you today. You're going to share a lot of very interesting insights that I have a few elements earlier. So really can't wait to have all the presentation. Going to share what to focus on to take advantage of generative search and what are the key differences with SEO. But mainly all the Daikin first-hand experiences in adapting the SEO strategy to GEO, actually. So I think it's a great moment to start the conversation. If you want to leave comments, ask questions during the session, please do it. Use the comment section below. I don't know if you're connected on LinkedIn, YouTube, or somewhere else, but there's always a way to leave questions in the comment section. Don't hesitate. We'll have time to answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. Well, I think Céline, Simon, I think the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Guillaume. And yes, indeed, so you introduced us briefly, but so Semactic is actually an innovative SEO platform aiming at really providing you with concrete recommendations. So our key focus is on implementation. So we, instead of providing you with plenty of data and issues. We try to provide our customers with concrete and very accurate recommendations, customized, tailored for your personal strategy. And that's what helps us to achieve great results with our clients. So combined with our expert support, it helps allow clients to really achieve great results in a smaller time, I would say, than with maybe classical approaches. Maybe before I go into that, do you want to add something, Simon, about Daikin? Of course, we will come to the collaboration, but anyway, I wanted to thank you already for joining me for this, because it's really a test and learn approach that we did together. We will go in depth about that later. But before that, I want to remind you about GEO. What is it exactly? I guess if you subscribe to the webinar, it's because you've heard about it, but it's nice to have some key elements about what it is exactly. So some examples, when we talked about generative engines or AI-driven search engines, call it how you want, we talk about engines like SearchGPT, Perplexity, or AI Overview, for instance. There are others, Claude and other, Copilot, and so on. All these are really engines aimed at providing you with concrete answers and driven by AI concretely. And of course, you didn't miss the launch of SearchGPT. So if for the ones of you among you who have an account, paying account in ChatGPT, you have no access to the search function, and it's live since the 31st of October. And of course, it's very interesting to see how it will evolve over time. So the definition of generative engine optimization is basically really optimizing your website, your content, to increase your visibility in these search engine, new era of search engines. So in these AI-driven search engines, so such as the ones I mentioned before. So the aim is, as for SEO, to develop your brand's visibility, your brand's awareness, and make it appear when people, and preferably your target audience, is performing searches related to your products, your services, or your areas of expertise. Some examples of that, but to highlight the importance of these search engines, actually in Perplexity or ChatGPT or Gemini, you have already brand mentions, of course, so you can be mentioned as a brand. You can even have your product highlighted, even if we will see it's maybe not the best asset of these AI-driven search engines. But anyway, you are already appear, even if you're not aware of it, in these engines. So it's really key to have an eye on them. Well, the question was about Google as well these days, because of course with these evolutions, with the launch of SearchGPT, we saw a lot of questions on, okay, is it a SEO killer? Is it a Google killer? How will it impact actually the traditional SEO and also the monopoly of Google? Well, let's immediately answer that. So the answer is no. So it's not a Google killer, or at least it's not yet a Google killer, as you might see in the slide. And if you look at the market shares, Google is still the very first search engine nowadays. So it's really far beyond other potential engines, and including the new SearchGPT and other Perplexity and so on. But it doesn't mean that it's forever. So of course it's not replacing Google at all for the moment. The other element for that is that it's not yet as perfect as Google. I wouldn't say Google is perfect, because they encountered a lot of issues recently, and a lot of people are criticizing the way they display results, and notably in US. But anyway, they still remain very qualitative when it comes to commercial queries, for instance. So they used us. We got used to search with terms, short terms. So when I look for some clauses, outdoor clauses, I will just type 2 terms and I will get exactly what I want. So I will get typically the products, because Google is able to understand that there is a commercial intent, that I want to see products. It's not really the same for Perplexity or ChatGPT, that need more context and that requires more questions. The same goes for integrations, for instance, specific to Google, like for jobs or for the flights. You can directly have the concrete information about booking a flight, and you won't get that, for instance, in SearchGPT or in Perplexity. So Google is still leading the way for the moment, and I think it will take time to replace that, or to at least compete with that. But still, you should care. Really, you should care now, because first, it's coming massively. So you can see in these graphs that more and more people are using chatbots and AI-driven search engines to perform searches nowadays. And you can see as well that these AI-driven search engines are getting more and more users. For the moment, the market share is still really dominated by ChatGPT, but Perplexity is really on the game, and is really increasing a lot these recent months. So the battle is really fun to observe, but at least you should really care for this reason. It's really coming massively, and you can probably experience it yourself when you look for some information and that you want to get a quick answer about something to compare, or information, basic information, or even more advanced, but that require to compare and summarize different sources. Well, SearchGPT or Perplexity are really good at that. So it's really evolving. It's also coming massively, as I've said. So if I take back the graph that I showed before, we could maybe imagine ChatGPT really evolving this way, or Perplexity. We'll see how it evolves. But these bubbles could really grow in the coming months. So it's really something that is evolving very fast, very quickly. So it's not set in the stone forever. So it's really something to follow now. It's also evolving in terms of possibilities. So it's not only in terms of users, but also with the new search functionality of ChatGPT. You can see that it's already very well. They already took into account a lot of things from the beta users of this version. And as you can, maybe it's not very easy to read, but they plan really to keep improving, and particularly address areas like shopping and travel, for instance. And we can trust ChatGPT about the fact that they will deliver what they want to achieve. So it's really interesting to follow that, to follow the ambitions, because they really want to compete Google. It's really an ambition that is totally said by OpenAI. So it's really evolving very fast. And so it could really change the game in the coming months or years. It's also something important about the way we search. So it's also changing the way we search online. So we are not only typing keywords anymore. More and more we enter in a conversational era, and where rich content, where I would say sensor search is more and more present. So you're not only searching with textual queries, but you will more and more use your voice, use your phone to ask for information about images and so on. So it's really evolving towards a more global sense search, and not only queries typed on your desktop. So, and with the new generation of searchers used to Alexia and other search assistants, it will definitely go in that direction. So it's also a reason why you should really care right now. I will go very quickly on this. Just to highlight a bit the differences between search engine, traditional search engines, and generative engines. Basically, that's what I just said before. Instead of the basic blue links that you might have in Google and an answer based on a ranking algorithm, with the generative engines, now you have summarizing models. So there is a live search based on either index or like Bing or their own crawl, and then they will summarize the information before giving you the answer that is more displayed in the form of a conversation and not only blue links that you need to navigate on. So context, summarized answers, multi-sources, the fact that you have integrated answers and very, very quickly, by the way, and ongoing interactions. We can say that's basically what makes the generative engine specific compared to isolated searches, linked-based results, and where you need to click on the different sources to get your own opinion and to get your own global answer.
So it's easier with GEO than with the blue links, I guess.
Yeah, for some queries, absolutely. So my point here is that exactly you will have concrete answers with search engines about products for the moment, where you will have maybe more difficulties with generative engines, but in the same time you will get very more accurate and concrete and very let's say qualitative answers from generative engines when it comes to comparisons, when it comes to summarizing a lot of information and so on. So we'll see that a bit later, but the idea here is that there is a platform for every type of query you have, every type of question you have. It's not necessarily one or the other. It might be very complementary. And so 6 areas to focus on. So it's based on the, let's say, a work, a research made by international researchers from a majority of them coming from Princeton. They really made a very in-depth analysis of the factors that might influence generative engines. And they tested more than 10,000 queries for that to try to detect patterns that helps appearing in generative engines like Perplexity, SearchGPT, and so on. The survey was before the launch of SearchGPT, but it was already in a beta version. So I think it was launched in Augustus or something like that. But it's still very interesting because we can see patterns that are shared among the SEO community, let's say, for the ones that have tested a lot these generative engines, and I summarized that in six points. I voluntarily modified a bit the order compared to my previous presentation for the people who attended the Digital First presentation. It was not PR and brand mentioned first, but actually I decided to put it first because you will see in the case with Daikin that definitely it's key. So it's already very important for SEO, but let's say that with GEO, it's becoming more and more important to make your brand visible across different platforms. So really trying to build a strong brand and getting a lot of mentions in the press, in the specialized blogs, in all sources that are relevant to your sectors. The second element is a content depth. It's not new for SEO, it's very key as well. So you need to have what we call EE80 content. So EE80 based on the guidelines from Google to have experience, expertise, authority, and trust that can be felt from your content. So it's still the case for GEO. So you need to have really rich, relevant content. The difference here is that you really need to go even further in terms of context, in terms of comprehensive questions related to your topic, and to pay attention to structure. We will see that just afterwards. The structure and the pedagogy are key as well for GEO, because the way these AI-driven search engines are built with LLMs makes them working in a certain way that requires a good understanding of structure and to be able to understand very quickly the key takeaways and what it's about. So here the tips would be to summarize very well the content that you produce, so to have a good structure in place, but you also need to include some elements like key takeaways and for instance, the executive summaries.
We have to make it easy for them to formulate the answer that they will give to the end user, which is writing the question to them.
That's true. So they help us, but we need to help them as well to provide the best answer. So in your content, you should, of course, try to help these LLMs, these AI models, to understand what it's about and to summarize it very quickly. So they also seem to love data, statistics, and relevant sources. So use that as much as possible when it's relevant, preferably your own data, for instance, unique information that you might have. But it's also very, let's say, valuable when you quote an expert. So it's not necessarily your internal expert, but if you source your content, if you provide reliable sources, if you provide quotes of people of reference, it can have also a boost for your content. Expertise without lyricism. Here, the point is that you need to demonstrate that you're an expert in your field. It's always linked to the trust that you need to demonstrate. And so don't hesitate to use technical terms, but avoid humor or metaphor and things like that are still not very well understood by these AIs. And finally, interactive and multimodal content. Link it to what I said before. We enter in a more, let's say, diversified way of searching things with video, with images, with voice. So, of course, it needs to be reflected in the content you provide as well. So try to include rich content with various formats, including video, images, and interactive elements, and to try to really personalize the user experience. Easy to say, not necessarily easy to do. Simon can testify about that, because that's globally what we tried to put in practice with Daikin. And here we enter the very concrete part of this webinar, and I will let Simon talk about that and maybe come back to the roots of this experiment, let's say.
Céline, just a quick question before we dive into the Daikin journey. Just a question. Here you can see on the screen about rich content. Question for Mark is asking about rich content. Do you also mean images, audio, and so on as well?
That's it. So I could provide some templates if you want, but globally, that's the idea, to have a page with to vary your content. So videos, audios, and all that kind of stuff is really valuable for GEO and for globally the way SEO evolved as well. So it's really key to go to that kind of format. Yeah, infographics as well. So really having elements that illustrate your content, your textual content, is key to add that now in your SEO strategy.
Okay, awesome, thanks.
Well, Céline, thank you for this very interesting introduction. It kept completely my full attention, and I can confirm, as from the point of view of Daikin Belgium, that it's quite a big challenge also for brands to be aware about this fast evolving technology. We have been used to improve our ranking and look at the blue links, but we fully embrace this new technology stuff also from a Daikin point of view. So on the next slide, before I introduce the next slide, let me introduce how we've started with to collaborate with Semactic from Daikin. Actually, it all happens last year when we decided from our point of view to internalize again our complete SEO strategy, because it has been completely outsourced for years with agencies, and it was clear for us that we need to do it ourselves. It's a very important topic. And then last year we've been to Digital First, and we've met a little bit by hazard the booth of Semactic, and the demo that we received was quite interesting. And then we decided to work together. And if you show me the next slide, then I will be able to introduce the output of the different workshops that we had together. Because Semactic is a platform, but it's also a service. They help us to materialize our SEO strategy. And during the workshop, we defined together the new customer journey for Daikin, where we have mapped each keyword intent for each step of the customer journey. Because our target group is not searching the same way when they are in the discovering phase, or where they are evaluating to choose the specific solution that we are proposing. And what was very powerful is that when you see an overview of this customer journey with the different search intent, and when you group them by category, by type of content, informational content, commercial intent, transactional content, then you can adjust the content that you have to create to answer the right question of the right end users, and even the right persona, because not everyone is searching for the same information the same way. And it seems that this, from an SEO point of view, becomes more and more interesting, even for the GEO aspect, because we are not all going to search the same way. We have been used to search only on Google, but now some people will go on the artificial intelligence, the generative AI tools. Some of them will still use Google. Some of them will use a combination of both. And as a brand, we need to be aware of it, and we need to choose the right channel to be present, and we need to do something about it. I think that's what we are explaining here on the slides, and for us it was very nice to make our SEO strategy tangible. And if you go to the next slide, after the workshop, we had a clear strategy on paper, but then Semactic helped us to implement the strategy into the platform, and to make everything more tangible, more visible. To define the different priorities. Where should we start at? Should we start on a specific keyword, or should we start on a specific category of keywords? And here on the graph, you can clearly see that we have a pain point for the category heat pump price. Every keyword which is related to the price of a heat pump, we were not that good when we compare us with our competitors. So having the possibility to see it on an easy way was also easier for us to say we are going to tackle this point first, and deep dive into this specific keyword category, and then go specific for each keyword separately, and see how we could improve. And in this example, I think the case that we have built to combine and to make our efforts for SEO and GEO together, we've chosen to work on the price heat pump price category. So yes, a tool is also important. But then when we've defined our priority, we knew what to do. Then we have asked Semactic to make us a recommendation, and it's basically very easy. We just have to hit like a button, and the tool is popping up a screen that says basically to you what you have to do next to the standard optimization, on-page optimization, and so on. And what was very clear for us, depending on the recommendation that Semactic did for us, was that we need to work on our content. The quality of our content, the quantity of our content, but also the way our content is being structured. I don't know, maybe you want to add something on this one?
Yeah, no, but it's exactly that. So here, the first, let's say, improvements were basically to optimize the classical SEO zones, so with titles, H1, alt image, and so on, and to enhance the existing content, making also the titles more attractive, so the freshness of the information, showing that we display current prices with the addition of 2024, for instance. That's, well, classical tricks, but it's still working in SEO, and that was the first step. And then we realized for GEO that it could be even further, and to try to test a bit what could be relevant for GEO. We checked actually the ChatGPT Perplexity results on these queries, the different queries about pricing, to distinguish, to monitor patterns, and that's where we saw that there were popular forms of contents that seem to be, let's say, highlighted in these generative engines, like summary tables, like also the really addition of the subtopics linked to all the types of heat pumps. We also could identify follow-up questions. So the fact that immediately you need to know about the state incentives when you are, of course, considering the price of a heat pump, the installation cost as well. And so it was highlighted through both the classical Google results, where you have, of course, the people also ask questions and so on. In the tool, we can see that very quickly, all the related searches or the semantic fields related to your topic and the questions that they might have. But we complemented that with the results from Perplexity, SearchGPT, ChatGPT at that time, to see if we had a very exhaustive view of these potential questions related to the topic. And we suggested to Daikin to add that kind of thing, so that kind of format, but also some data, technical terms, and reliable sources for the state incentives, for instance. So that was, I think, Simon, the second step of the optimization here.
Yes, of course. The first improvement, if we think only SEO, we would increase the number of characters that we put on the page, like you were showing now on the next slide. But very soon, I think the pricing page, the SEO page talking about price for the Daikin Belgium website was quite a generic topic. We were talking about price, but then it became very clear for us that we needed to go and deep dive into the content and talk about price of the air-to-water heat pump, the air-to-air heat pump, the air-to-water high temperature. So go deep dive into the details to make the content very in-depth content. But next to this, also talk about what you said, the next question. If you are interested into heat pump, you want to know how much it costs, and you want to know how much your specific heat pump will cost, but you want also to know how much it will cost for the installation. So we ask our copywriter to build this content, and we've made the change, and then we will see afterwards in the evaluation of the case that it brings up some results, but it was not enough. We need to go deeper, and we understood also from the advices that we have received from Céline and the team of Semactic, that we need to position ourselves as the experts. So we need to give qualitative information. We need to structure also the page by putting a table of content to help the AI tools to find their way to formulate their own answer, but also to put like a table and to organize all our prices by products in a clear table to make it easy for the end user on when we think about a UX perspective, because as a marketeer most of the time we think UX, but we don't really think technical, because technical is like a little bit too boring for us because we don't understand. But the page evolved this way, and and we made all the changes on the page to not only to fulfill the SEO perspective, but to also to fulfill the GEO goal.
No, go on. I just wanted to rebound on what you said about the UX and the fact that you modified a bit the way the content was displayed. That's why it's in the technical and UX section. It's because it's not only about the content, but it's about the way you will be able to to show it in your page. And it's more and more important to consider your page templates to have very flexible and well thought templates. And we see a lot of clients having constraints about that still now. And so it's something I really encourage you to consider as soon as possible, or when you're redesigning a website. It's to think of your different templates to allow a lot of flexibility, of course, allowing also the integration of videos and these rich formats we talked about earlier. That's key. And sometimes if it's not thought from the beginning, it's also an issue to really make very attractive content. And here it was the case. We could do a lot of things on this page. It's not possible on all the page, I think, Simon. And that's the point. It's to think about UX and technical issues and templates from the very beginning.
Yeah, I can confirm from the template that we are using. I work for Daikin Belgium, but we are dependent on our mother company, Daikin Europe, and the main template is being defined on headquarter level. So we have to play with the possible templates. It was in our case possible to put a table, but in the first change that we did, I remember the table was all below on the page. Then you told us maybe we should try to put the table in the first fold of the page, right after the table of content, and we will try this just to make sure and see if it helps. And actually, it was really helpful to make this change, but we will see it also afterwards. And also something that I want to add for us. When we talk about the next topic, okay, when we talk about heat pump price, we need to talk about the incentive that the government is also giving. It's not an easy way because the amounts that we are mentioning are always changing. But I think it's also important to build like some links with external websites to make sure that we are not the only ones saying that this is the truth, but that other source of content can confirm what we say, and I understood that this was also important for GEO.
Yeah, exactly. And to complete with the technical and UX part, of course, like for SEO, it's key also for GEO to make sure your website is a solid technical foundation. So make sure basically that your website is is easy to crawl, is easy to index and to understand for bots, basically. So it's still the same as for SEO. You need to have a good circle to welcome AI bots, but don't panic, and that's the key message we wanted to tell as well. Most people think that they need to address all the technical issues at the same time, and actually there are few improvements that can already solve a lot of things, and that are not necessarily requiring your entire IT team for months. So it's really the goal with Semactic as well, that to highlight, to have a clear overview of your technical health and to highlight the priorities. For instance, in terms of speed, of course, it's key for SEO, but GEO as well, to have a very good what we call core web vitals. The loading speed, yes, is key. Sorry, Simon, you said?
I was saying it's important to have a healthy website, but for us as marketeers, we are always afraid of the technical part.
Exactly.
Of the SEO. It's not something that that we do have fun to do, and most of the time. But I can confirm, and it's with Semactic, it was very clear for us to identify the priorities again and to see what were the problems that we needed to tackle first. And for instance, in the case of Daikin in Belgium, we did found out some 2 or 3 important technical issues that we managed to solve in less than 6 months. So
despite constraints, because there are always constraints, but yeah, that's true that you can always intervene in some points. So that's the good news. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so no, I assume it's the part that will interest you most. What's the result of that, and what can we say? What are the learnings? So we want to be humble about that because it's still in test. It's still we are still at the beginning of this process, but it was really interesting for us to see in practice how it concretely impacts the appearance in Google and in Perplexity and SearchGPT. We focused on these 2 generative engines, so Perplexity and SearchGPT, ChatGPT at the beginning. And what we discovered was really interesting. At the beginning for ChatGPT and SearchGPT, we are still not at the top of the mentions here, but that was interesting to see that we were one of the only brands mentioned in SearchGPT when it comes to price. Most of the sources are actually related to blogs or specialized media and comparators, for instance, that are really comparing different pricing and so on. And Daikin actually has started to appear in October with the different pages, and among others, the one that we just highlighted before about the table of prices and so on. And so it was interesting because we saw in this GPT results the table, not ours, so it's not only based on the data from Daikin, but it's of course a format that GPT like when it comes to comparisons and so on. So that's a first interesting result. What also was, of course, we had already some clue about that, but it was confirmed in the test that we made about GPT. We wondered where did these sources come from, and of course we made a comparison with Bing, because SearchGPT makes the search, the live search in the index of Bing, and so we could assume that there might be some links in there, and that's the case for most searches. It's not only based on the sources that you can see in the organic results of Bing, but still we see patterns. We see that for instance in the images that GPT highlighted when we type, for instance, designed heat pump. Well, these images are actually the ones that are the best, the most highlighted in Bing as well. And more importantly, the links that are associated to these images are really taken into account to summarize, to give the answer in SearchGPT. For instance, we were wondering, okay, why are we appearing with Daikin exactly here? Because it's, well, why is it mentioned with the Emura model and so on? And actually with Alterma as well. Alterma was very often the one that was appearing in the results, Alterma and Stylish. For Stylish, it's normal, Alterma as well, but why SearchGPT highlights this one specifically? Well, it's really linked to the links that you can see in the images, and here in that case it was the top 6 made by Espacio Bad, that is both in SearchGPT and in Bing, one of the key results, key sources that were taken into account. And so since they mentioned Daikin in that list, we can see a direct correlation between both. So of course, it's only testing here, but it's also interesting in Perplexity. Perplexity will also appear very well in the top 3, basically, for the prix pompe à chaleur. So it's really nice with this content that was improved. And we were also wondering, but why are we mentioned where at the moment that Perplexity mentioned geothermal heat pumps? why there. It's of course there is no exact answer here. It's only assumptions, but it was interesting to see that actually among the content, among the sources that were taken into account by Perplexity, it seemed to be Daikin seemed to be the only one to talk about geothermal. The others talk about groundwater heat pump. I don't know, Simon, if there is a difference. I guess there is not really, but
it's the same. Yeah, basically it's the same. But it's surprising
term
also.
Geothermal, yeah.
but,
but you were the only one to use the geothermal term, and so is it the reason why you were mentioned specifically for this? We can make some hypotheses about that, but because we saw that earlier with other generative engines, that having a specific information, the one that others don't have, is really something that generative AI loves, because it allows them to, it's the way they work, they gather the information, they summarize it, so they want to be sure that they have the full information, and so they don't want to miss any element. So it could be a very interesting entry point to think of the specific information that could be highlighted in AI engines. But of course, we didn't want to only optimize for the generative engines, even if it was the key of the test we wanted to do, but was really surprised, or not really surprised, but was really above maybe our expectations, was about SEO. I think, Simon, you can also confirm that it was quite interesting to see this increase, and I think, and confirm if I'm right, but it was in particular after the last implementation. So the fact that we removed, or we modified a bit the structure of the content, for instance, and things like that, that we saw a very big increase.
The first improvement that we did, it was more SEO related and building up our content, but then we saw a very interesting jump into our ranking when we put in place the table on top of the page, right below the table of content, and this was very nice to see.
Yeah, and so that's the same for here. It was on a specific keyword, pré-pompe à chaleur in French. We did the same in Dutch. Globally, it's the same kind of results. And if we take back the graph that you showed before, Simon, where you identified the weakness of Daikin on the topic, the global topic of price, well, we see before optimization in July that you were a bit below Vaillant, well, a lot below Vaillant. Yes. And we see that now in November, you're really struggling with them, but it's you really earned a lot of visibility on that topic. So it's not only about prix pompe à chaleur, but about all the topics that is increasing with optimizations. Yes. And that's what you can see here as well. Huh? So in French, as in Dutch, in the global topic, so in Semactic, you can, since we categorize all the keywords, you can have an overview of your evolution per topic. And that's more and more important to have keywords clusters and to see your evolution per cluster of keywords. And here, if we take the pricing cluster, we see this same impact that arose around November, beginning of or end of October, no, beginning of November, I think. Anyway, we can see it in both Dutch and French communities. So I think that's already the last part, but I see that the timing is going on, so I will try to be brief. We saw where we put the focus in this first experiment. Of course, it's not the end, because as I've mentioned at the beginning, I talked a lot about authority, brand mentions, and so on. It's something we didn't work specifically here for this case, because actually it was already an asset from Daikin. Of course, it's a very well-known brand. When it comes to heat pumps, they have already a global authority. So it was, of course, and we are aware of that already, a very good foundation for GEO and for SEO. They have a good authority score compared to their competitors as well, and that's because they already have some partnerships. So there are already a lot of content, and they appear in specific reviews. They have partnerships with. You can mention some of them, I guess. Here, I think.
Construction, Bouwinfo, Livios, those are partners
exactly.
that are publishing content for us, and
yeah.
And I was also surprised to see actually how minor changes did have a very high impact on the number of positions that we could get to reduce the gap with our competitors. But it seems that it's also due to this authority that we have managed to build from years now, because we are not. We've started to take back control of our SEO by ourselves, but we are doing SEO since years now, and we are creating content since years now, so it's not new.
Yeah, of course, and these are good foundations. And it was interesting because we wonder that at some point, should we, because I give the example here on the right with air conditioning, it was not Daikin that was appearing first on that query, and usually you would say, oh, we should target this query and we should appear in first, and actually it's a partner that is ranking first. But finally, we realized it was maybe the best way to to appear. Because actually when people are typing air conditioning, they want a more neutral information. It's very global. It's not looking necessarily directly, for products, depending on the period of the year, let's say. But anyway, it was not bad to actually be mentioned in a more, let's say, neutral source than appearing yourself with your brand directly. And it's also what pays off in GEO, because you're mentioned in a tier source, and it's valuable for GEO as well. So it was interesting to have these discussions about should we change the way we partner with
to have other people telling that you are the best brand instead of telling that you are yourself the best brand.
For marketing and for SEO, exactly, that's the same logic. Just to for the next steps, because of course we talked about the foundations, but Daikin could go further, and you as a brand could go further as well, considering the different sources that are actually highlighted in this search engine. So in the Perplexity, SearchGPT, Bing, obviously, because we saw that there are links, obviously, with SearchGPT. So it could be worth considering the media partnerships that SearchGPT has made with a lot of major players in the media fields. Here you have the list. I can add it in the presentation if you want, with all the medias that concluded partnerships with SearchGPT. The Perplexity is also starting things with publishers, so they have developed a publishers program. It will be very interesting, I think, to follow that and to see how it evolves. And this link with publishers should be, I think, really looked very closely in the future. And of course, it can be interesting to think of your PR in that way as well. Finally, last element, but not the least, about the data and the way we can monitor all this, because of course it's interesting, but how can we make sure that we have visibility? How can we monitor all this GEO thing? Well, it's challenging. Let's say it directly. It's very challenging, but we have maybe 3 tips to start. Let's say first, but you can start collecting information about your traffics coming from these AI-driven engines. Here is an example with Daikin, and for the moment, let's be clear, the traffic is very low compared to classical organic sources, but it's evolving. And as you can see here, the 3 last months, we start seeing a trend. So for me, it's really the evolution is more important than the data for the moment. It's really seeing how it works. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It would be interesting as well to monitor the AI response patterns, like we did for the pricing topic, to see, okay, what seems to be relevant, and also to make the links with your SEO persona, your target audience, being sure you address the key topics that have their interest and that you address it the right way. And finally, monitor the sources as well. So the ones that we discussed earlier that appear on your key terms, and it could be words worth listing them to try to see how you can develop the content for them to appear in their content and to be mentioned a lot. And for that, we have just developed, so it's still very a dev view for the moment because we are working on that, but just to tell you that Semactic is working on these topics. We want to really address this because we are convinced that it's the future of search. It's not necessarily SearchGPT alone, not necessarily Perplexity, and they will not necessarily replace Google, but anyway, AI is there and will continue to develop and will be integrated, and it's already very integrated into Google, for instance, with AI overview that is coming. So you need to address these challenges of AI and also these opportunities because we see it as a very interesting opportunity, and we've developed a way to monitor your brand mentions in these tools and to see how you appear compared to your competitors. For instance, we have just 3 examples here with Daikin, Toyota, and it was with Luminous that we tested a bit to see, okay, when we talk about, for instance, the more ecologic solution in terms of energy, and we see that NG and Mega are the ones that are appearing in this request. So it's really interesting to see how your brand is mentioned, to monitor that. It's more and more important, and to see also the sources that we can see just below, the sources that are taken into account to build your authority through them. So I hope it was clear. I know it's a bit a code view here, but it's something that we want to focus on for the next weeks. And here is a final summary of all this. So if you need to think of SEO versus GEO, you should maybe think of GEO plus SEO, obviously. And so the strategy will remain globally the same with keyword research, high quality content, authority, technical and UX, and taking data-driven decisions. But it's just that you will complement a bit your SEO action plan with GEO action plan. And as you can see, when we talk about keyword research, you should now focus even more on conversational phrases, long tail queries, not only short-term queries that are very good for Google, but sometimes very, very competitive as well. So think of more globally the topics and all the conversational phrases and questions that might be linked to that. Then when we talk about high quality content, as I tell it in the English way. When you talked about that, Simon, you talked about the fact that you should go even further in-depth content. So the way you consider your content should really be thinking of how will an AI understand that and answer and gather and summarize that. So include what they like, data, statistics, quotes, and reliable sources. The same for authority. I cannot encourage you more to now develop your branding, your brand mentions, answer to the forums when you're mentioning them, enhance your visibility in Bing, and also encourage the user-generated content about your brand. It's really taken into account and valued, highly appreciated by these generative engines and by Google as well. Technical and UX.
For me, it became also very clear that we need to listen more to what is being said instead of just trying to influence and look at the result, but also more proactively have like a listening system in place where we can a little bit take control of this because we just saw here also in the case that some of the things that some of the websites that are mentioning us, it's also a little bit by hazard. We did not ask to be mentioned, but they are mentioning us, and it is paying off. So maybe we can put in place some kind of partnerships and.
Yeah, but in the same time, you need to be you need to monitor that as a brand, because for AI and for Google as well, trust is really the new gold in SEO. So there are plenty of content, and so now the real challenge for them is to distinguish real reliable content from maybe low quality content. And so they need to rely on very strong brands and reliable brands and authentic brands. So that's why they really like UGC content, because it's the most authentic you can have. Of course, it's when users talk about you. Technical and UX, yeah, you need to, as we say, talk about the page structure, think of the path of the user, and include metadata. I didn't talk about that, but it's also interesting to help these bots to understand the logic of your page. And finally, data-driven decisions. So try to start this with monitoring your AI response patterns to at least identify the traffic from generative engines, and also monitoring the sources that appear on your key topics. So I think there is some work, but as you can see, as soon as you have a sustainable SEO strategy in place, globally, all the routes are there for the GEO action plan. It's the same logic, but just pushed a bit further, I would say. Well, some just remaining questions. I will go very quickly on that, but of course we don't know yet everything. It's the beginning, so the business models and their impact is still in question, hallucination and overall quality as well. We talked about informational queries versus commercial queries, and we see that for the moment they are very good at informational queries, maybe a bit less for commercial queries, but it could evolve. The regulations will play a role, is already playing a role, obviously. And of course, the monitoring of that remains a big challenge for us. And that's already the end. So key takeaways for that, in a nutshell, well, it's here, so you cannot avoid it. It's there, and it will continue to grow. So AI-driven search engines are really evolving and changing the way we search. So it's really key to understand that. It's not only about the platform, it's about the search behavior. So you really need to start adapting now. It's really the key focus to complement SEO with GEO. So it's really combining your traditional way of optimizing with these new tips for AI, the way of working. And the 6 essentials are content depth, clear structure, authority and branding. So we talked about it a lot, but establish a consistent and strong brand presence. Data-backed credibility, so use statistics, develop your own data, or use the open data that are at your disposals, and sometimes AI can help in that way as well, to ask them to provide you with valuable data or unexpected data, for instance, something that will surprise your target audience, but it's key to add them in your content. Use a precise technical language, but not too metaphorical, and also add rich content in your strategy. So globally adapt and lead the way, and strengthen your brand authority to embrace GEO now, and you can hopefully thrive in the evolving search landscape. That would be the conclusion of this. Well, thank you very much. I don't know if some of you have questions. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you very much, Céline and Simon, for all those insights. Actually, I'm a very curious marketer, so I have a few questions on my own. So I was wondering, so you talk about the really basics things about SEO, about technical UX, authority, content, etc. So it seems like GEO doesn't really change much. Those basics are still the same. But from your experience, would you recommend one topic that would be the main focus to win on SEO and GEO at the same time today? If there's one, which one would you prioritize maybe to work on?
Yeah. I would really focus on your audience and the content, the topics that you serve to them. So I think we took the approach of how can we appear in this generative AI, and not how can we use this generative AI to help us as marketers, but it's also a very interesting way of doing it. So it's really searching for the topics that your target audience will be likely to appreciate, and AI can provide you with that. If you have concrete personas, you can ask for very interesting insights about unexpected content. So not, of course, the idea here is really to stand out from the crowd. So to find topics that maybe not all your competitors are already addressing, or to find an angle that is your own brand voice. And for me, that's a very good advice, both for SEO, GEO, but also for marketing, of course, in general. So use your own voice, your specificity as a brand to develop qualitative, in-depth content, and to try to think of that to immediately spread it across platforms. So do not focus only on your blog, but try to make it visible across platforms, because it's what will pay off in marketing and in GEO and SEO, because it's valuated, it's really well considered by this generative AI, and it's the way you can get mentions, get backlinks, get authority. So it's really what I would advise. I don't know, Simo, if you think of other things, but for me, content is really king.
I think what I've learned also from this whole exercise is that if I can...
we can't hear you, I think, Simo.
You can hear me? Oh, that's strange. Now, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better.
Oh, okay. What I've learned from this exercise also is that if I can compare it, how we as a brand can advertise on television, for example. When I look 5 years ago, there was only one possibility to be on TV. It was linear television. But now you can be on addressable TV. You can be on linear television. You can be on YouTube video. You can even look at video on YouTube on your television. But it's just a matter of choosing the right channel that your audience is consuming. And I think that's the parallel that we can build also with SEO and GEO. We don't have to make a choice, SEO or GEO. We have to be everywhere, and we need to find the best match for our target group. That's my conclusion also to this whole exercise.
So it's really a thing about multi-channel marketing rather than just focusing on just SEO or...
Yeah, I think it's Neil Patel that summarizes it very well. It can be the conclusion of all this, but consider SEO not as search engine optimization, but search everywhere optimization. And I think it's a good summary of that. No, search is absolutely everywhere. You just need to find the platforms that are the most valuable for your audience.
Perfect. Really great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Really for all those insights. That's really interesting. I think if some of person in the audience want to keep discussing with Simon and Céline, don't hesitate to reach out to them on LinkedIn or by email.
I put here my contact details, and but you can find us on LinkedIn, obviously, and also on the website. So with pleasure to continue the discussion. Thank you very much. All of you. Thank you, Guillaume, and thank you, Simon, for the valuable insight.
It was a pleasure.
And if you want a specific personalized demo of Semactic, also just share.
Of course.
The calendar of Davut. I think it's
yes.
It's very interesting to see how the tool can help with SEO and GEO today. Yeah. Thanks again for your attention. Was really pleased to have all you here connected today. So. Thanks again, Céline and Simon, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.